Hello, hello. What up, everybody? This is Melanated Air Hour. I am one of your hosts, Teddy Ewing, and I have the lovely Miss Faye Bishop alongside me. We are here to chit chat, actually, because we don't have the whole big crew today, but there's an important topic that I really want to dive into because it's about money. And y'all know I love talking about money. If you don't know, now you know I talk about money all the time, and it's titled Inflation. We need to talk about inflation. We need to talk about what to expect. We need to tell you that it's not something to just kind of brush aside, act like it's just happening to you and you're helpless. There are things that we can do to affect change during this period, this economic period. And I want to just chat with my homegirl, Faye, and discuss what we can do about it, what it means to you, and where we're going with this. So, Miss Faye Bishop, how are you, First Lady?
I am doing very well today. How are you?
Wonderful. You said you have a vacation coming up, so we're going to be losing you for a little while.
Yes, for about a month. I will be vacationing in the South, so I will be off the feeds. That is my sabbatical from the feeds every summer.
I love it. You know what? We always talk about self-care, mental wellness, mental health, and vacationing, detaching is all a part of that. So definitely, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Know, break away from them. I guess it's not cold there. It's probably hot where you are now too, but it's going to be much hotter when you get down.
Yeah.
So get yourself ready. But let's talk about inflation. Let's talk about how that's affecting you, me, and the people.
Indeed. I don't know if you all are aware, but the Federal Reserve just yesterday raised the interest rate by 0.75%. Now, this is the largest move it has made in a single meeting since 1994. And what happened is the central bank had messaged during this meeting that further interest rate hikes will come this year. So we're not done. By the time fall comes, the interest rate could be at 1%. So the Fed is leaning on higher borrowing costs to dampen the demand. And the whole goal with the raise of the interest rate is to pretty much try to slow the economy enough to not slow the economy, but slow the rising costs, the cost of everything from rising. That's the point of it. So overall economic activity right now appears to have picked up, which of course this time of year it always does. You know, we're coming out of winter, we're heading into summer. There are people that are traveling a lot. There are people that are shopping a lot more. So it seems to have picked up after edging down in the first quarter of the year. However, there's no telling what's going to come from this because the goal that the Fed is trying to do, and it seems as if they're almost in a bit of denial about it, to put it plainly. But what the Federal Reserve is attempting to do, and this is really important for us to know, is that they're desperate to win this fight against inflation by raising the rates in an attempt to keep delaying the inevitable. What is the inevitable? A recession. A recession.
But here's the thing. Do you think that they're in denial, or do we think that, because this is not new, like people who know money, people who know the economy and the ebbs and flows of it understand this. So do you think they're trying to keep us in denial is what I think. They're trying to keep the people in denial about what's coming and, you know, spin it so that when it happens, we're deep in the middle of it and don't know what the hell just happened.
Right. That's what I believe that they're doing as well. They're trying to basically keep us in a state of denial, which is easy to do right now, especially since usually in a past year's time, whenever we have a recession, such as the crash of '08, the situation that took place in 2001, I believe it was, or 2002, shortly after 9/11, is that it was easy to keep us in the dark about what's going on. Well, it wasn't as easy to keep us in the dark. Like, we knew what a recession was. We knew when it was hitting. We felt it. But now with social media, because everything is so visual and we have social media that distracts us from this kind of stuff, it's easy to keep us in a state of denial about it, I say. Because you got the pretty pictures, everybody's living their best life. You know, you got the memes, and it pretty much sells you on the idea that all is well in the world, but
Yeah.
actually all isn't well in the world right now.
It's not, I made the comment to our little group chat earlier about the bings, the dings, the shiny things, and how that's grabbing everyone's attention. And even on social media, long form content is almost discouraged. Like they want the reels, they want the shorts, they want the stupid videos like that may be funny. Because I'll tell you what, I will look at some shorts and be cracking up. But you can look at shorts and be looking at it for 15 minutes and not have learned one thing that's going to be of value to your life, not increase your income, anything like that. So, it's important for us to be well, kind of detach from the grind of things, but you cannot put those blinders on. We cannot put our head in the sand and act like we are so helpless in what's happening. We do have a say in your household and how you guys are going to react to the economy.
That's absolutely correct. And I want everyone to understand that what we are witnessing right now is more than just gas prices going up. It's more than just the cost of food going up. This is a mathematical equation that is like on the verge of busting any moment. We haven't even gotten to the part of the real estate bubble, which is also going to come as a result of this. So if for those who don't understand what inflation actually is, and I've explained it in the past, I just want you to know that when it comes to inflation, it doesn't discriminate. It isn't a black or white thing, although that you do have certain groups, such as Black people, who are disproportionately affected for the obvious reasons, that wealth factor and the wealth gap. But there is no perfect playbook for anyone who basically isn't Jeff Bezos or working with Bill Gates money that exists on how to invest your way out of a high inflation world. And while there are areas of the market that hold up better than the others, and the buy and hold strategy is something that, buy the dip and all that, it's something that has worked for years. No one is completely insulated from its reach. And it's really important to understand what that will mean for you and your family, because you will be affected, like it or not.
Absolutely. And we like in the financial world talk about the middle class often. And I don't know, maybe you know exactly what middle class goes up to. I would say like 300,000 annual income, but maybe it's, up or down from there. But it always sounds like a lot of money. But when your dollar is worth 25% or 50% of what it used to be, then and your living expenses either meet or exceed your income, everyone is in trouble. And I wish I knew my statistics off top, but it's something like 75% of middle class or more live paycheck to paycheck. That means if you were to miss one paycheck, you're in deep trouble, right? So if you're living paycheck to paycheck, your expenses don't change, and now your dollar's worth less. I'm sorry, your income doesn't change, but your dollar's worth less. That means your expenses are going to go up. Your gas costs you more. Instead of filling up your tank for $65, it costs $85. Instead of spending $200 a week at the grocery store, you're spending $300 a week, which is, $400 extra for the month. And some people don't have an extra $400 or $500 available in the month. So what are you going to do? And that's why we titled the show the way we do, because it's what are you going to do about it? You're not going to let it happen to you. You're going to be proactive and plan for it. You're going to start budgeting if you haven't budgeted. You're going to start looking at where you can cut costs. That's the only way to increase your income, is to cut costs, unless you're going to have some side hustles, multiple income streams. And with this period hitting us, all the things that were hot may not be so hot, right? Like real estate. When that bubble bursts, it's going to be ugly, y'all. It's going to be ugly for the investors. It's going to be ugly for the people. I mean, the people buying houses now, the buyers are already in horrible pain, but the sellers who have been reaping the benefits are going to have the pain. If you want to borrow money, I mean, anything you want to do is costing more. So you have to start strategizing now, like ASAP. As soon as possible, for those who don't know what ASAP means. You start strategizing because it's coming, and it's coming quickly. So sit down and think about what the heck you're going to do about it.
Absolutely, because inflation erodes the average person's purchasing power. Every person's true inflation rate is different because we all buy different products and services and have different lifestyles that we lead and have different varying expenses. But you can expect to pay more for just about everything, depending on, again, the nature of what it is you do or how you intend to use your purchasing power. I do know that if you're intending to purchase a car this year, you may want to wait. If you were looking to buy a home this year, you may want to wait. Everything from furniture, airline fare, hotels, and everyday essentials like groceries and gas. It's increasing. Even if you wanted to remodel a room in your home, supplies are also sky high. So all of this means, as Teddy so graciously said, is that your paycheck is not going to go as far as it once did unless your wages are increasing at the same pace, which has not been the case for most individuals, I would say, pretty much since before COVID. All right. So I'm not saying that you don't spend any money. Obviously, you have to live, right? You have to eat food. You have to pay for your transportation to get to and from work. And, the kids, take care of your kids and your family. But after realizing what's happening with inflation, you just may want to be mindful about these increased prices. And as Teddy pointed out, you definitely want to tap into your cash reserves and really sit down and strategize how you want to spend your money. I always encourage people to budget every quarter. There are 4 quarters to every year. So you may want to look at, what do you want to do for the first 3 months of the year, which is pretty much the winter? And what do you want to do in spring? What do you want to do in summer? What do you want to do in fall and the latter part of the year heading into your 2023? That typically is what helps me and has helped me over the years to budget my money effectively. I tend to go over my savings account. We review that, my investments, and things like that, because it's impossible to predict how inflation is going to affect you. Just know that it's definitely going to affect you some way, somehow.
And I love having this money. Again, I love talking about money. And so many people, cultures, families are afraid, hesitant, whatever, to talk about money, but it is so necessary. And I know a lot of y'all watching or going to watch this, hide from your money. You don't want to look at it. You don't want to look at your accounts. You don't want to look at your bills. You don't want to look at your status of funds because it makes you feel some type of way. Maybe you have a lot of student loan debt and you didn't finish your degree, or you got that stupid loan, or you bought that overpriced car, or whatever may have happened. But it's important that you analyze your financial situation so you can get through it. You can't fix it if you're not looking at it, right? So you have to analyze it, figure out what you're going to do, and then just grow from it. And don't be afraid of it. Like, dive right in, look it in the face, and do it. I was joking with Faye earlier about buying the dip, because I'm a buy the dip. Like, I know I love my crypto. It is, I want to say it's in the toilet, but I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing. I'm saying that like everything's on sale and I want to buy. But I'm retiring from the Air Force and I need my cash reserves. I need to have that money there in case I'm unemployed for a certain in-between time. I need to make sure me and my family are good. So that money, I can't do exactly what I want to do with it, even though I have a lot of it to do it with. I'm not, because you just don't know what's going to happen. So you got to make those important decisions and sacrifice your will to buy the dip, to look forward into the future.
Absolutely. And one of the common questions that I have been getting over the past few weeks, as I've been giving out some advice to my clients about tapping into cash reserves, they're like, well, what is cash reserves? Because you hear certain verbiage like side hustle and, things like that. And that's all people hear, but that's a cash reserve. A cash reserve basically refers to money or a company or in any whatever kind of cash you keep on hand to meet a short-term emergency funding needs, basically. So it could be a short-term investment of some kind, which is kind of like day trading. It could be a side hustle. Maybe you sell things on Etsy or eBay. It's basically just a way to keep some cash handy to meet your needs, to meet your household needs. And it's often in exchange for a lower rate of return. So that's why it's referred to as a cash reserve. How do cash reserves work? It's about holding on to some liquid money. So for some people, I always say it's always best to keep some money in a safety deposit box. Like you have your savings, right? You have your investments, you have your assets that are tied up in stocks or real estate or whatever. But it's always good to have like cash in a liquid form too, because cash is a liquid form of wealth. And it's a short-term asset, basically. So if you want to tap into, I would say if you want to start looking into your cash reserves, you may want to start looking into maybe whatever cash you have on hand, pennies around the house, money in your savings, because it's going to be depleted either way. Just taking it and basically budgeting and looking at what you have on hand and putting in a safety deposit box. I always say everyone should have at least $5,000, between $5,000 to $10,000, income dependent cash on hand to meet your needs. You do. It's just the safest bet to go, because you don't know what's going to happen, because prices are going up everywhere. A lot of people think it's just gas and food. No, it is your utilities as well. In the state of Pennsylvania, where I live, we were notified just a month ago that our rates, due to the energy costs, thanks to this whole energy situation going on around the world and the war with Ukraine and the Russia situation, that's affecting energy costs around the world. So it's going to be a 45% increase on our energy bill.
What? 45%. And I remember when I was in the States, then the electric cost, and when I lived in California, it was ridiculous. But even when I was living in Texas or living in Georgia, it was still pretty bad. So let's just say $100. We know it's more than $100 in the summertime. But if you have a $100 bill, that means it's going up to $145. That is insane. And that is across the board. Like once food goes up, once energy goes up, it literally is going to affect everything. It's going to affect all the goods you buy, all your Walmart purchases, all of your recreational stuff. You deciding, like me and my husband, when the kids were really small, we loved to get in the car on Saturday and ride so they could sleep. And now you have to decide, am I going to spend that extra $20 in gas to ride around the city for an hour and a half or not? You know what I mean?
Right.
This is like, you're going to have to change the way you move. But let me tell y'all, one way to help fix this is to pay yourself first. And by that, I mean, if you're going to build your cash reserves, set $500 or whatever number it is you can afford, pay it to your account, put it in your safe deposit box. I recommend you have like a safe in your house, a good safe. Like it may cost, this may not be the time, but it may cost a couple $100 to have a good safe. But have a good installed safe in your house. Somebody can't just come and snatch it and walk away with it. Put that money in there and then pay your bills from the rest. That way you will budget from what you have left. Once you run out of money, you will stop. But if you pay yourself last, you will never pay yourself, because you will run out of money first and you will never have that money to save for yourself. So if you haven't started doing that, have an automatic allotment or however transaction you need it, that comes off the top when you get your paycheck and it goes somewhere away and it's there for you when you need it, because you will need it. You will need it. You will need it.
Absolutely. It's important to understand that even once all is said and done with this rough period that we're going through as a country right now, it's important to know that the economic model in this country is shifting. So once the dust settles, it's still not going to be the same. Like everything is not going to just return back to normal and then, all right, now that that's out the way,
that's over,
It never does.
Yeah.
And a lot of this has to do, the reason the economic model is shifting is because the dollar is not worth what it once was 70 years ago. And so what's been happening is that the new model is ushering in a new price value system. Modern economic history can be roughly split into different eras in which a certain set of ideas have been dominated by politics and policy. And this is why I always tell people, I know everyone loves to follow gossip and celebrity gossip. Y'all want to know what's going on with this one and that one. And you love your music and your entertainment and your Twitter feeds and your Facebook feeds, and all that's fine, right? But you really should always pay attention to what's happening in the market.
Yes.
Because politics and policy dictates what's going to happen next. And what we shall refer to as a dominant group, which is the politicians, of course, they pretty much set up these economic paradigms, and they generally encompass these political and economic goals. So that is what plays a role in the functionality of our economies and societies. And don't think that it's something that takes place in just the United States. It's global.
Absolutely. And they plan out. And if you pay attention to those things, you can see where they're going to exert their effort, right? So whether it's clean energy or solar panels or building, infrastructure, building more homes, building more shopping malls, whatever it is, that is a way for you to kind of get in on the ground up, how we come out of this to recover. Because once these price hikes happen, once your rent goes up, and like my storage unit, I have a storage unit back in the US, it went up like 30% just out the blue. Wow. So those prices aren't going to change. So once we're out of the inflationary period, that storage unit is still going to cost what it costs. So unless I've got a raise or I'm making more income, I'm still going to have to recover from that. And as the dollar strengthens, it's like taking a discount. Like if you get 25% off something and then they give you 10% back or 25% back, right? So you get 25% off something, they give you 25% back. You're not back to 100%. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right.
So you're never going to get back to where we were. So all of those realized increases you've endured, they're not going to change. So this is going to last. It's going to be stagnant. And these are one of the things that keeps the poor and the rich, because we don't get to recover like they do. The rich, the uber rich are hurting, but they're not hurting like the middle class and then the poor folk. They're going to be hurt like almost irreparably sometimes. So that is why you have to just plan ahead. These things happen. They always going to happen. They're going to keep happening. So we have to plan in advance and just live within our means. I mean, I know people hate to hear it, but it's just true. And you can't be in, la la land and social media acting like the world ain't happening, or in the metaverse, because like I was saying, in that movie, Ready Player One, they lived in like trailer shacks. So they're living their best life in the metaverse. But their actual physical home is a shanty town, and we don't want to be in that, right? You want to live in the luxury that you're living in the false world as well.
So Teddy, you bring up a very, very important point when you pointed out living within your means. We really need to understand the importance of that and how that works. Living within your means is so important because it's all about cutting expenses so you have money left over at the end of each month, and it's done by carefully budgeting your expenses. So you should have a significant amount of money left to put away in cash reserves. As I said, like you put it away in your savings, you put it in your safety deposit box, whatever you want to do with it, invest it, however you want to do it. But living within your means is very important. One of the things that really, really affects us, or should I say keeps us from living within our means, is how we use our credit. People seem to think that credit is free money. It's not. You'll pay dearly for the option to pay for something over a period of time versus paying for it straight up. Credit cards can be convenient. Borrowing can be convenient, but you do have to look at the fact that you're going to be paying down this piece of debt or making payments over a period of time versus paying for something straight up. So I feel like credit cards are necessary to rent a hotel room, rent a car, or put a deposit on an airline ticket. However, just be mindful about that when making your travel plans this summer. Be mindful about your use of your credit cards, of your credit during this period in time of inflation, because depending on how long this lasts, you want to still be able to keep your credit score intact because you're definitely going to need it later. So if you can avoid renting consumer goods, stay out of Rent-A-Center. I don't know if people still do that, but
they do, Faye. I don't know why they do.
Stay out of Rent-A-Center. Stop renting cars so you can stunting like your daddy up on Instagram. Stay away from businesses that offer cash advances.
Let me tell you the silent killer that I've noticed. So I was shopping on Macy's, .com and something else, and I'm seeing if you spend over $35 on like the average shopping platform, they will let you break that thing up into like 3 or 4 payments. It's called
I saw that on Amazon too.
It's on everything. And I'm like, me and my husband were just like, what? It was something that like cost like $45. They're like, that's just 4 payments of 17 something. I was like, who is breaking up $45? Let me tell y'all something. If y'all can't buy it outright, you don't need it. Okay. You don't need it. You do not need to break up this stuff into no payments. It sounds like somebody's doing you a favor, but this is like the, I used to work at a cash advance place where you could borrow against your paycheck. That is what this looks like to me. It's like you're going to buy 20 things and be paying all of them over 4 months and be in worse trouble than if you had just bought it straight out to begin with. Like, no.
So
no Karma, no, whatever that is called, like Clara or something. Leave that stuff alone. If y'all can't buy them hair products outright, you don't need it. Sally's had it. I mean,
I know Sephora even has it.
Yes, Sephora has it. Ulta has it. Man, y'all better leave that stuff alone. I'm telling you, that is the devil.
Don't go near. That's a bit, and people don't pay attention. A big part of living within your means is how you manage your credit. It's not just what you spend your money on.
Right.
Your credit rating tracks the state of your credit. Most prospective employers will look into your credit record before they even hire you. They do this to see if you might pose a risk to their business, and although this may not seem fair, however, many believe that a great deal of debt or a poor credit rating makes employees look more like like they'll steal from the company, or you'll be so preoccupied with your own problems that you won't get your jobs done.
That's what it is. And if they have proprietary information, then you got money problems. You're more likely to give away that proprietary information. Yep. The recipe, the secret, the master plan, the design. So no, they're not going to do that. That is a risk. And it's a way to just eliminate people. Yes. Say, we're going to run a credit check, and if it's an easy way to get you out of there, despite the great resignation. Like a lot of these companies suffered from the great resignation, and they're still not hiring people back, and they're still not offering the salaries that are competitive. So you have to be careful.
Speaking of which, that's another thing too that's been going on. That you brought up a very good point. They're not hiring. There's been hiring freezes across a lot of corporations, especially in the tech world, down to a lot of corporations that have been taking place. I would say since the end of the first quarter. They have tech companies everywhere, and corporations have actually been revoking job offers.
They have. I saw that, revoking the job. So they've given someone a job offer. This person may have put in their notice or actually quit their other job, and then they're taking it back. They're reneging, like on spades. They're taking it back, and I'm like.
And this is all relative to what's going on with this inflation situation.
They're anticipating their losses, and they're like, okay. And they said that in the article I read, it did say that the hiring budget is one of the most padded budgets that a company has. So they were offering all these lucrative salaries, and then when they see this inflation right at their front door, they're like, yep, let's reevaluate that. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe there's not some legal recourse that someone could take. I mean, it probably is, but you probably can't afford to go through with it. You know what I mean? You have to take them to court, and who got time or money for that? So they win. They always win.
And these hiring moves or lack thereof, they're coming in despite the U.S.'s labor market having a strong demand for workers. So it's like, even though there's a strong demand for workers, many corporations and tech companies have decided to institute these hiring freezes, and even they're laying off people as well. They're laying off employees in the process, in a move to drop workers. Yeah. Because many businesses are making these last minute considerations about what they can and cannot afford amid the rising inflation rates. And the whole goal is just to slow the demand. So that's another thing I want you guys to pay attention to, because it's not just a company like Facebook or Coinbase.
Yeah, Coinbase laid off like 18%, 20% of its workforce, something like that.
Netflix, Uber, Salesforce, all of them are cutting down on hiring and they're implementing layoffs. It says more than 15,000 workers, tech workers. And that's just tech. That doesn't even go for the banking industry or anywhere else.
Yeah, the banking industry. But so this is what we have to do as a people, is pay attention. Because if a company is saying, okay, I thought I have it, but I don't, so I'm backpedaling, you need to look at that and say, okay, I did want to go on this vacation in 3 months. We've been waiting for it all year. Can we really afford it? You know what I mean? Like, maybe you can afford it now, but maybe in 3 months when the prices really start hitting, maybe you can't afford it anymore. So look forward and take that signal from the economy and the things you may have been trying to do that were going to cost money, like you said, buying a house, maybe something that's going to take a lump of money. Maybe you just need to reevaluate. You know, what I always say, you know, on my channel is, don't be afraid to take a step back. Don't be afraid to turn all the way around. Like, nobody is judging you, and whoever's judging you ain't paying your bills. So you don't care what they're saying. Like, if you thought you were going to do something, you're going to quit your job. I was going to retire and it ain't looking good. Maybe I just backpedal and say, okay, maybe I'll work it for another year. Maybe I'll start my business in 8 months, whatever the case may be. Don't be afraid to take a step back. Like, you have to look ahead and say, maybe this is not where I'm going to be headed. Maybe I can't afford to do this now.
Absolutely. And, you know, part of living within your means knowing what your means are. It's knowing what your annual salary is, knowing that that salary or your hourly rate, depending on which, isn't enough to help you live below your means. So you need to know the difference between gross income and net income that appears on your paychecks, and evaluate that carefully. And also look into boosting your income. You know, just because we're in a recession, I always say this, just because we're in a recession doesn't mean you can't boost your income in other ways. You know, if your expenses are at the bare minimum and you're still spending more money than you make due to your cost of living, then that means you should boost your income, even if
you have to.
You do. There's no way around it. Even if it means, I don't know, writing part-time, or getting a second job, driving for DoorDash or Uber, or possibly selling some things on Etsy or on the marketplace. You really should look into that, so that it can help you to boost your income. And
that's the only way you can dig yourself out. There is money to be found. There is money to be found. You just have to work hard enough to do it. And while you Netflix and chilling or binge watching some episodes of something, that is time you could have spent, like you said, posting on Craigslist, eBay, Etsy, going through that room, that's the junk room, and seeing what somebody might want. Because there's the two sides of this coin are, we need to be cutting back on what we're spending. We need to be budgeting. We need to be paying ourselves first. But there's a whole group of people who don't do it, who will not do it. And they're looking for stuff to keep buying, and they're shopaholics, and they're depressed, and they have issues, and they're you know, outliving their issues by spending money. So if you need to reap the reward from that person's bad habits, then that's what you do. Sell them Jordans or whatever it is you have sitting in a box in your shoe room in your house while you can't pay your electric bill, but you got a room full of hundreds of dollars, $1,000 shoes. Sell them bad boys. You know what I mean? Get that money back so that you can live the lifestyle you want to live, and get yourself onto the even keel where you can pay yourself first and you can live within your means.
And you know, another idea is try the 50-30-20 budget. If anyone doesn't know what that is, the 50-30-20 budget, it's allocating 50% of your income to your needs, 30% to your wants, and the 20% towards your financial goals. So as you learn to live within your means during this period, you may be spending right now, as we make this video, you're probably spending 100% of your money on your needs, or at least 90%, right?
Yeah.
But you can basically chop that up to the 50, 30, 20, allocating 50% to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% towards your financial goals. And once you get accustomed to doing that, you can start saving a little bit more and adding some wants into your budget. That means that if you are trying to save for a house, or if you're trying to save to purchase a car, that 30% could turn into 40%, or however it is you want to do it. But you'll at least be able to have some money left over to allocate and put into that fund, so that you can be able to buy that car, buy that house a lot sooner than what you anticipated.
And do it like a Band-Aid, y'all. Don't be trying to work up to it. Like, snatch that mug off. Like, if you can afford to start living on 50% of your income, do it now. And I think a lot of us, you have committed yourself out of that goal because your expenses are just too high. Your rent is too high. Your mortgage is too high. Your car notes are too high. You can't, even if you really wanted to do it today, you couldn't do it today. But for those of you that can, do, because there's no easy way to fix the financial mistakes we make. Like, you can't do it in the blink of an eye. But if you can, you should, because that is how you build wealth. Like, compounding interest is serious. And if you don't start investing and saving and living below your means, you will never, ever build wealth. I don't care how much money you make, because you will always spend it as quick as you get it.
That is so true.
As someone who has raised, I mean, that's the beauty of being in the military, man. It's like your pay is predictable. We have raises, you make rank, have little raises every year, you make rank, you have predictable raises according to a chart. So you can literally predict out your goals, your financial goals, to the penny. So that makes it easy. But for a lot of people who can't do that, it's easy to just say, I'm going to treat myself. And then you commit to some higher goal that you can't uncommit yourself to. You done got your gym membership, or you done bought this new car, and that sucked up the extra $400 extra you were making. So now what you going to do? You just got to wait till the next raise. Well, maybe it never comes, right?
Right. So, yeah. You know what else I want to encourage everybody to do? Find contentment in your lifestyle. One of the things that I find, it's like social media has its pros and it has its cons, right? The good thing is that one part of the pros is that it's a great marketing tool. It's an excellent way to earn more income. But part of the cons for me that I find is contributes to why so many people are struggling with mental illness is that you have so many people who cannot find contentment in their lifestyles. Yeah. And that's one thing that we all should try to aim to do, because what you see isn't what you get on social media. That's number one. Everybody pretty much is on there. They up on there lying, and they're just going to show you the best parts of their lives. They're going to use a ton of filters on it. They're going to time the posts and all of that kind of stuff. But the best thing you can learn to do is unplug from social media so that you can find contentment in your lifestyle. Because I find that when you're not comparing your daily life to everyone else's highlight reel, you're able to recognize all the great things about your life that we basically take for granted every day. Absolutely. Be grateful. It teaches you to be grateful for the simple things, like having shelter over your head and food on the table, and recognizing that you always don't need more material things to be happy. So
you usually don't need it. It's creating clutter in your life, and it's probably stressing you out.
Yes. Most people wish they had a more luxurious lifestyle. They wish they had more money than they could ever have. They want more expensive vacations. They wish they can buy more expensive things. But this desire for more is exacerbated by social media, where everyone is basically just sharing these snippets of their supposed glamorous lives. Right. So it's important to remember that. Find contentment. As you attempt to live within your means, you can be happy within them. So just know that there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's better. It's the best way to be, because unhappiness is like a plague, right? So we don't want you to catch it. Like, be happy and make that contagious, because people really just want to. Friends have always said to me, they're like, Teddy, you're just always in a good mood. You're always happy. And I'm not always in a good mood. And I'm not always happy, but I really do have a positive outlook. Like I hardly ever look at the negative side. I'm like, what change can I affect? Then I'm going to affect change. And if I can't do anything about it, I'm going to try my hardest to not worry about it and not try to think about it and dwell on other people. I really could care less what other people are doing. Honestly, like I love my life. I love my family. I love what I do. I don't give two craps about what other people are doing usually. So if they have a nice dress, like a girl wearing a nice dress, I'm like, oh, I like that dress. I want that. But that's it. Like it's never comparing myself. So
yes,
we have to move towards that.
So find contentment in your lifestyles and start by not competing. Don't fall victim to the keeping up with the Joneses mentality, which is something that I once upon a time, way back in the day, used to do, but I don't. And I was able to find happiness once I stopped. It's like, sure, your neighbors and your friends may have the nicer cars, or they have their newest technology, and they're constantly on vacations and taking expensive vacations. But that doesn't mean you have to do the same. And it also doesn't mean that you're poor or that you don't have money simply because you're not doing it. Think of it this way. Your neighbor or your girlfriend or your homegirl or your coworker may have taken out a loan for that Mercedes that they're driving. I've even read somewhere, I forget where I read it. This was about a year ago, about how there are so many people taking out loans just to buy clothes and rent things just to take pictures
renting the runway.
Yes, appear on social media.
I am not renting no clothes I would never buy and can't afford to take a damn picture. Maybe for your wedding dress, I recommend you rent that bad boy. But other than that, I don't see you need to be renting no clothes.
Okay.
So that wedding dress, let me tell y'all, my wedding dress is in my mama's storage somewhere. Ain't seen it, done it, been nothing with it. And I'm glad I didn't spend a lot of money on it. So
good for you. Because I actually bought mine and ended up donating it later on. Like, why did I? And that kind of stuff doesn't hit you until later. Like, why did I pay all this damn money for this damn dress?
You knew you was only going to wear it once. You knew that. You knew it. And you still bought it anyway. But that's what you do. You get caught up.
Keeping up with the Joneses. So while sometimes living within your means may not be as glamorous as you'd like it to be, you will be much better off for doing it in the long term. So definitely think of it that way if you can.
And me and Faye ain't gonna beat this dead horse, especially because people don't, either you love talking about it or you hate talking about it. There's usually no middle ground. So I'm glad it was just me and Faye today too, because we were able to have this finance, get knee deep in it. But yeah, we ain't gonna beat it in the ground, y'all. But inflation is here. Inflation is here to stay, and it is going to get worse. The cost of all goods sold is going to increase pretty significantly, and it will affect your day-to-day lives. So be on the lookout, start living within your means and saving your money. Did you want to close out with anything, Faye, before we get up out of here?
Just that when it comes to inflation, you have to understand the wealth distributional consequences as well as the social consequences that follows it and how it impacts your life and your family. So if you never thought about taking the time to evaluate your salary, the salary of your spouse, how much income is coming in, looking into those cash reserves, looking into living within your means, and looking for that finding contentment in downsizing, do it now. Now is the time to do that, because again, the economic model in this country is shifting, and a new model is ushering in a new price value system. So while this may be a rough period for us all, know that once the dust does settle, it's going to settle and the chips are going to land where they may. And you have one job to make sure that it doesn't affect you as terrible as it's affecting you now.
Absolutely. I can't say it any better than that. We have to see what's happening, make a plan, and avoid it. And you can find ways to cut costs, even if you don't think you need to, it would be time to do it. And take a good status of your funds. Figure out your income, figure out where you're wasting money. I mean, I'll have a subscription every now and then for something that I watched. I wanted my HBO Max because I want to, you know, I'm overseas. So I wanted to watch a series, but it's over. So I can cancel it. And if I want it again in 4 months, I can get it again in 4 months. Like, you don't have to keep it. So subscriptions, magazine subscriptions, makeup subscriptions, whatever it is, are you utilizing it? Are you utilizing it? If you're not, cancel it. You can always get it back again. So look at what all the negatives coming out your check. YouTube Premium, you know, whatever it is it worth it? Ask yourself, is it worth it? Do I really need this? And if you can't say emphatically yes, then get rid of it. And if you still miss it, you can get it back again.
That's right.
But we love y'all. Thank you for joining us. We don't have a lot of people on with us live because we just be popping in and popping out. But when you watch this, wherever you watch it, whatever day you watch it, the replay, know we love you. We appreciate you for watching and tuning in and joining us on the Melanated Air Almost Hour. I am your girl, Teddy Ewing. You can find me at The Real Teddy Talks. And my homegirl, Miss Faye Bishop. Find her at Miss Faye Bishop on her social handles. Please join us, follow us, and we will catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.